After learning about my family's death, about my sister surviving, I didn't really know what to do. But after that day, after that night, the night that I missed all of them being killed, I found somebody. I found somebody to take me in, and he was so gracious enough to train me. Train me in the ways of being a demon slayer, in the ways of being stronger. But even with that, I felt useless. How was I supposed to defeat these demons? How was I supposed to protect my little sister? Urokodaki would always tell me not to worry about that, worry about myself for now, and learn the ways of water breathing. But I couldn't. It just made me feel more useless. But right when I got the hang of water breathing, I wasn't sure if I would be strong enough, but it didn't matter at this point. I had to work hard and just figure out a way to win, to kill anything that would stand in my way, kill anything that would hurt my sister. But what I didn't know is that I'd even get more help. While I was walking through the forest the day before my first test, my first real test, the final selection, I came across this weird glowing aura, this small light crystal that I was kind of confused about. What is this anyways? I walked over toward it and reached out my hand, and it began to glow. It began to change and erupt, and then everything was peaceful. I sat down next to it, and I saw so many different things. So many things. As if it was a whole different world within these sites of grace. Yeah, that's what they were. Sites of grace. It was as if it was a whole new world, something I didn't understand. But just as I reached my hand out, another hand reached out as well and grabbed it and pulled themselves out and walked toward me as if they were normal, as if they were supposed to be there. A woman with a slightly messed up eye, and frankly she could only see out of one, but her aura just oozed this nice factor. I could smell it. It seemed as if she was so sweet, peaceful, nice, as if she just wanted to help. She kneeled right next to me, and she uttered some odd words. Tanjiro Kamado, it is a pleasure to meet you. Tarnished. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back with a brand new What If. What if Tanjiro had a maiden? This isn't the normal what if I would normally do. Normally I do breathing styles, blah blah blah. I thought this would have been a fun way with Elden Ring being as popular as it is, and I've been watching and actually playing a bit of it. I've been enjoying it just a little bit. It's not really my type of game, but it's pretty interesting. But with obviously Elden Ring, you know that there are something called a maiden. A maiden that allows you to do various things, and you can't even level up until you have one. So I want you to keep that in mind, and this is going to be sort of based off Elden Ring. Nothing in terms of like monsters and stuff. I'm not so sure if I'll be basing it off of that, but just keep in mind that's what we're going after, and that's what a maiden is. So this will be what if Tanjiro had a maiden. I won't waste any more of your time, and let's just pick up exactly where I started or where I left off. Let's get it. The maiden reaches out toward Tanjiro, but Tanjiro's confused, asking what is this tarnished, and she explains that he is the first of many to come here. The tarnished are people that arrived and aren't necessarily supposed to be here, but they struggle and fight through monsters, creatures, and various other things. I am your maiden, and I frankly was sent here under some odd pretenses, but it seems like I was directed toward you. Ones that can see the sights of grace are the ones that I suppose I should support, and I will support you, Tarnished. Well, for one, please don't call me Tarnished. Just call me Tanjiro, that's fine. I'm just still kind of confused. But even with that said, how will you even support me? I have to kill demons. She begins to explain that with her, he can actually access more and more power, explaining that you can actually start leveling up and gaining experience, and also more or less collecting runes that will allow you to up your stats. And Tanjiro is confused. Stats? This is no... What? He's never heard of something like this. It will make him stronger? She explains just that it will make him stronger, allow him to access new weaponry, and various other things like that. But more specifically, he can upgrade the weapon that he will soon receive in the future. She basically explains that she knows that he's going to the final selection, and if he passes that, he'll get a brand new sword, correct? Yeah, I will. That will upgrade with me? Sort of, yes. You have the option to upgrade that weapon with runes and various other things. So, I shall guide you if you so choose to have me alongside you. And you'll find these, well, you already know what they're called. You'll find these graces, these places of rest, and you'll be able to more or less combine with them and activate them, and they will be places for you to transport. Transport? Like teleport? Yes, precisely. Well, Tanjiro, I wish you good luck, and make sure to check out everything you can in terms of these graces. Now, I'll see you soon, Tarnished. The maiden backs away, and she disappears entirely, as if Tanjiro basically controls when she appears, but he's not so sure. Maybe she only shows up when he can call her, or maybe she shows up when he's at a site of grace. He's not so sure, but he does want to test out this whole idea that he can teleport to various graces. So he goes back to Urokodaki's place, and he questions why Tanjiro, or what Tanjiro's even doing, and Tanjiro explains exactly what happened, and Urokodaki is shocked, beginning to grab and stumble through books as he finds a book about the Tarnished, about these people, but there's so little about it, pages ripped out, and all Urokodaki can say is that this maiden is a good person, someone that will guide him in the right direction, and will be truly a guide for him. And Tanjiro is happy to hear that there is some reassurance behind this whole maiden idea, and supposedly it will make him even stronger. So Tanjiro decides to basically teleport back to this so-called site of grace, in which he instantly transports, and he's shocked to see that it actually works. Going back to Urokodaki's place, and Urokodaki questions how he just did that, explaining the sites of grace. Well, Urokodaki says that even with that said, he needs to rest up, that he has some very important tasks to deal with basically tomorrow. He nods and they rest as he writes down and finishes his writing for Nezuko. He goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning, heading off toward the final selection. On the journey there, he finds various rune or sites of grace, and also some runes to pick up on the way as well. These items begin to glow, and he picks up various items. But one of the main items he finds is something called a golden seed, but also some smithing stones. It seems like he can actually use these smithing stones in the future to actually upgrade a weapon. Believing that he should wait on until he gets his actual new weapon, he decides to hold off on using that. The golden seed, he's not so sure, but once he rests at the final selection, which there is a site of grace right outside, his maiden appears once more, explaining exactly what that golden seed does, explaining the flasks, and that he can actually use health and mana flasks to basically more or less heal himself, in which, since he's not using obviously spells or mana and he's no mage by any means, he's more of a warrior or like a swordsman, he decides to just have multiple healing flasks, currently having about 3. And she explains that he will soon find more and more golden seeds, and don't be afraid to ask any questions from her. Tanjiro thanks her and begins to use his basically runes that he has from picking up some runes, which is not a lot by any means, to upgrade some of his stats, being upgrading his striking power or his strength and a little bit of health, and that's really about it. He leaves off the site of grace and begins to head to the final selection, where 2 seemingly twin girls begin to explain exactly what's going to occur. The final selection will be 1 week of everybody fending for themselves and basically defeating demons and trying to survive for that said week. After the explanation is finished, the 2 little girls allow everybody, all the demon slayers, within the forest. Tanjiro heads in and is immediately jumped by a couple demons, but with relative ease, using first form, Water Surface Slash, he's able to slice their heads off. He feels even more power, leading to him having even more confidence. In the beginning, maybe he wouldn't have felt so confident, but right now, he feels good about his strength, about his skills. He feels like he can do most things, and he feels even stronger because of the upgrades he just got. They were so minor, but he can feel that his body is actually reacting to them very well. Is this truly the power of a maiden? The power of the Tarnished? Like, I don't even understand what the Tarnished is, but maybe somehow I'm the reincarnation of one? I don't even know. Tanjiro begins to blitz through the forest, finding monster after monster, and he begins slaying them, or demon after demon, and begins slaying every single demon, but he then hears footsteps, and loud ones at that, and it is the hand demon chasing down another, victim. Tanjiro approaches the hand demon, and the hand demon mocks Tanjiro for the mask that he wears.
I know exactly where you're from. You're one of Urakodaki's brats. I've killed so many of them.
Tanjiro gets mad at hearing this and immediately charges at the hand demon, able to dodge every single strike that comes his way, and he basically mocks Tanjiro, saying that he will never be able to slice off his head. But just as he says this, Tanjiro calls out and begins to use second form, Water Wheel, as he slices easily through the hand demon's head or neck and immediately kills it. He puts his sword away and looks as the hand demon begins to tear up. Tanjiro kneels down and shakes his head as he places his hand on top of the hand demon's sliced off, head. He begins to shake his head once again and apologizes that everything led to this, that he would have never wanted the hand demon to die in such a brutal way, but unfortunately when you take others' lives, this is the repercussions. Tanjiro walks away as the hand demon dies. Tanjiro more or less went around and killed the mass majority of all the demons in hopes that he can get a lot of runes. These runes will actually help him level up even further. All these demons gave him a substantial amount of them as well, so this will definitely be beneficial. Tanjiro begins to leave as he begins to look for the top of the hill. When he makes it to the top of the mountain, he sees a lot of the people still alive, in which they say they didn't even see any demons, in which Tanjiro knows that's because he more or less killed the mass majority of them. And one of them even says and points at Tanjiro, saying that that boy is the one that saved him. Tanjiro doesn't really say much and just smiles and nods. After the week is completely finished, the 2 little girls arrive once again, congratulating everybody for surviving. This time, a lot more demon slayers did survive, and Tanjiro waits on basically to see these ores. But someone does approach a woman or one of the little girls and grabs her by the head and tries to say to just give him the ore or else, but Tanjiro immediately grabs him and begins breaking his arm, throwing him the other way, telling him to never do something like that again. After some time passes, Tanjiro can tell where the ore for the Nichirin sword is, so he picks that up and begins to leave, teleporting away and turning into this odd yellow particles as he leaves. Kanao and various other demon slayers basically see this and believe that maybe they should report this to the other people or the other hashira, because this boy, whoever he is, Tanjiro of some sorts, he might be special. He just teleported out, turning into this mist, like he was some particles and he was gone in an instant. Was he a ghost? They don't believe so. He killed so many demons. What is he? Tanjiro is now gone, but he's already back at Urakodaki's place. Urakodaki sees him and is shocked, and Nezuko is there as well, running over to him, and they all embrace, and Urakodaki is proud to see that he's back. and Urokodaki asks to see these sites of grace that he speaks of. It's obvious that he used one because he just teleported out of nowhere. So Tanjiro goes to show him, but Urokodaki unfortunately cannot see them. Like he thought, it seems that only the tarnished can actually see them. What makes him the tarnished? Maybe there is some special consideration there. What would even make him of that category? He's not so sure, but since they send off the ore and get ready for his Nichirin sword, he begins to search more and more for items he can find, finding maybe one more golden seed, and then goes and speaks with the maiden at his site of grace, speaking with her about various things, but still not learning much of anything. She doesn't really know this world that well, and it seems that she thought initially that this was her original world, but this place is different. This place is very, very different, but she can still guide him after she learns more and more, in which she is still in the process of doing so, learning a lot throughout this world, and a lot that is basically ahead, basically being able to guide him to various areas. And Tanjiro is happy to hear this and says that's great, as he begins to level himself up, seeing that he has a decent amount of runes from all of the demons he's been slaying. He upgrades his stats and gains some more HP, obviously some more strength, and some more stamina. After doing that, he basically unlocks another flask and has 4 healing flasks now. Now he feels pretty prepared, waiting for his new sword to arrive and basically holding on to these smithing stones to upgrade said sword. When it does arrive, the swordsmith is excited to see that maybe it's going to turn red, just like the way he looks and that he has red eyes, blah blah blah, but when he grabs the sword, it just turns black. He doesn't really mind this, and everybody else is kind of shocked, but Tanjiro doesn't necessarily care, throwing some of his smithing stones on it, and the person the swordsmith is really confused. What is he doing? You're gonna hurt but just as he does it, it just absorbs into the sword, and that's about it. Tanjiro begins to swing it around and sees that it is a good bit stronger, and that the more he uses it, it seems it's going to get stronger as well. Tanjiro is happy to see this, and it seems like there is truly no limit to this sword. This sword, it's the maximum he can get, but actually he can level it up to whatever height he wants to. He walks outside and begins swinging it, and he can feel the power behind it, that it's that strong. He begins to realize that he can actually see his stats, his health and all of that, seeing that he actually does have a good bit of health and also striking power. Now this is definitely a good thing to see. The swordsman begins to question what he just did, but Tanjiro says that it's more confusing to actually explain it than anything else. He puts the sword away as a crow begins to fly to his shoulder. The crow begins to speak and tell Tanjiro his first mission. With Nezuko finally being awake and now a brand new box from Urokodaki, he takes Nezuko in the box and begins to head off as he waves to Urokodaki, promising to come back alive. He begins to leave and heads off to his first mission at a nearby village. When he arrives at that village, he hears 2 people arguing, and one guy actually getting beat pretty bad, but he jumps in front of the way, blocking the attack, and picks up the guy, asking what's even going on. Learning of the said demon he's been searching for. It seems like this demon can teleport in a way, or can just basically make people disappear. Tanjiro hears what he's saying and says that he'll begin his searching process. He begins searching, and his awareness, his strength, and everything feels so much greater. His ability to sense demons is actually a lot easier, and he does smell something foul before night even falls. He begins to sense a demon nearby, a demon hiding, but it feels like the demon is like underground in a way, in this odd swamp area. It smells different. Tanjiro begins searching, waiting for this demon to come out, and right when he does in a building and begins hiding. Being as quick as possible, Tanjiro breaks through the building, dragging the demon out, throwing him into the sunlight. The demon tries to go underneath once again, but Tanjiro refuses to let him. He stabs the demon in the chest, pushing him basically away from his little portal, and he begins to get basically turned to dust by the sun almost immediately. Tanjiro sheathes his sword and looks around to see the portal still slightly open, meaning the demon is still alive for at least a couple seconds here. He decides to dive down in to see if he can gather anyone, but he just finds a bunch of items. He takes those said items back up, arriving just in time as the little portal closes. He hands the items to the man that was basically sad and more or less lost his wife, and explains that unfortunately his wife has been killed. But he begins to give some items to the man and pats him on the shoulder, telling him to stay alive, to be strong, and that one day he'll see his wife and they can be happy together. But she would want him to live a happy life from here on out. He promises that. He begins to walk away, and the man asks, what is he? Who is he? How is he able to do that? Tanjiro turns and smiles. I'm a demon slayer. Or, I guess you can call me a tarnished. Tanjiro leaves with Nezuko in the box and begins to head off as the crow lands on his shoulder and begins to speak about his next mission. He has to head to a nearby city. During this travel, he picks up multiple sites of graces and begins to head to that city. When he arrives, he sees that even in the darkness, the city basically glows extremely bright. And demons could basically hide amongst people very, very easily here. He sets down Nezuko's box and begins to just eat some food, but during this, he smells something. Smells something heinous, smells something that he's never smelt before, and only time he smelt it was years ago. He goes sprinting off and grabs a man by the shoulder as he turns around. The man is just a normal person. He's not... Who is he? What's going on? He looks at him deep in his eyes and is about to question him, but the man doesn't say a word and asks the boy, what's wrong? Are you okay? Do you need something? Tanjiro is confused. No, this is him. This is the person that killed my family. But why? He has a daughter? A wife? He doesn't know what to do. The man begins to walk away, but Tanjiro remarks as he unsheathes his sword, I promise, I'll come after you, and I will kill you. Muzan walks away with his family, and he's twitching in complete, not fear, but in complete anger. The fact that he saw those same earrings, that mask, it's pissing him off. He, that boy, whoever he is, needs to die. Tanjiro heads back to Nezuko's box, apologizing for leaving her alone, and then is approached by someone else. Someone out of nowhere just appears by the name of Yushiro, and he questions Tanjiro, asking if he could please follow him and that he wants him to speak with Lady Tamayo. And Tanjiro says that he doesn't really care to speak with anybody right now and that he senses that he's a demon. But Yushiro explains that he is a demon, but not one that is here to kill him. Tanjiro reluctantly follows with Nezuko on his back as they walk through this wooden wall that seems to have magic coated upon it. He walks through the wall and meets Lady Tamayo, and she begins to explain to Tanjiro who she is, that she is a demon and she was one of the closest people to Muzan, the king of demons himself, and Tanjiro wants him dead. He explains that bluntly, and she says that it won't be that simple, but they can and will create a cure. Maybe they can create a cure that could kill Muzan, and Tanjiro is intrigued to hear this and asks if his sister could be cured, in which she says theoretically that is true, it could happen. But just as they're speaking about this red ball comes flying through the house, bouncing everywhere, but Tanjiro turns and slices it in half. Lady Tamayo is even shocked to see how strong Tanjiro is in just flat out brute strength. On top of his breathing style and also his stat increases, let's just say Tanjiro is extremely powerful. He walks out of the building and stares down the demon that just did it, and she begins to laugh as she continues to throw balls at Tanjiro. But he just walks forward, slicing through them as if it was nothing. His sword alone is sharper than anything they have ever seen. His sword alone can slice these balls. He doesn't need to even use his breathing, his concentration breathing, as he approaches the demon. Now, were you sent by Muzan himself? That's the real question. Tanjiro waits for an answer as she smiles, and someone else begins to attack Tanjiro as well, in which basically sends him flying away, but he's able to counteract it using various different techniques, or using various types of water breathing, sending him basically forward, backwards, and basically restabilizing himself, and he's able to actually slice the head off of the demon that has these weird kicking dodgeballs. As he slices her head off, he immediately goes for the other demon, bouncing off the wall, dodging this arrow that would come toward him. He immediately dashes in and appears in front of the demon, stabbing it in the chest as he pile drives him into the ground, telling him to tell him where Muzan is now. He pins his sword against his neck, but the demon refuses to do that and refuses to give up where Muzan is, but Tanjiro has no remorse for this demon. I think I now know what it means to be the Tarnished. Someone maybe in another realm, in another spirit, myself, in another energy, another world, was banished from somewhere. Banished, and now I'm living this life of hardship. But no more. I'll make sure to put an end to it. Tanjiro steps on his own sword, slicing the head off the demon, and the other two demons, Yushiro and Lady Tamayo, watch on in complete awe. The Tarnished. I've heard of that before, Tanjiro. He looks at Lady Tamayo and questions what she knows, but she says she doesn't know much, but he's right. They were ones that were banished, but this world, it's different now. And the Tarnished, well, she's seen them before get sent here, but all of them, they just end up dead from the monsters, the demons themselves. But Tanjiro's different. Why is he so much different? He shrugs and says that he's not sure. And he says something about a maiden, that he has one, but even Lady Tamayo doesn't know much, doesn't know if that's the case. But Tanjiro asks what they need to do for this cure, what will need to be done, and quickly they explain it to him. They quickly explain that he needs the blood of the 12 Kizuki, and hopefully that should be easy enough. Tanjiro nods and sheathes his sword and begins to just get anything he needs, putting his backpack or his box back on with Nezuko within it. But just as he leaves, someone appears in front of him, and Tanjiro takes out his sword ready to fight. But the person that follows is not someone that wants to fight. The person that follows is someone he's seen before. The person that got Nezuko off of him when he was trying to get killed, or was going to get killed. It's Tomioka. Tomioka arrives because, well, he's heard news of Tanjiro. Heard news of what he is. And he wants to bring him to the Hashira mansion for a little bit more talking to. So they decide to bring Tanjiro up, learning of his demon, and they begin to argue about this. The Wind Hashira says that he needs to be punished, going to attack Tanjiro, but the master of the Hashira tells him to stop, that this is not the boy he wants to fight. This boy, he's something different. He asks Tanjiro to walk over there. As he does so, Tanjiro asks if he can see this as well. And the master says that he's blind, but long ago he could see them. Because himself, he used to be one of the Tarnished. And now he's something different. He sacrificed everything, and now he's technically not one of them, but he lost his sight. Just like he lost the sights of grace. Tanjiro unlocks this sight of grace, and he sits down with his maiden as she begins to explain. Everybody can see this maiden and is shocked to see her, and sees that how the hell did someone just get here like that? They go to slice at her, but the blade just falls right through her, as if she doesn't even exist. She begins to explain to Tanjiro what this place is and what's in store. Tanjiro learning various other things that's going on and about Muzan Kibutsushi, and they learn as well of this person. At least the Hashira learn that Tanjiro had an encounter with him. Learning of this, they ask various questions, but are basically stopped by the master of the Hashira, explaining that Tanjiro and his little sister, well, who is a demon, will be fighting alongside everybody. And they're confused. No, that can't be it. As the wind hashira stands up and stabs into the box, throwing her out into the shade and stabs it and shows that she will drink his blood. Nezuko walks over as if she was about to do so, but then looks away. Through basically sheer will and connection with Tanjiro, it seems like Nezuko is refusing. And the maiden points toward Nezuko. She is an interesting one, Tanjiro. She herself, with connection to you, is as if, well, a spirit in a way. She has every stat you have. She's gonna grow just as well as you grow. It might sound odd, but she is very strong in her own right now. Tanjiro doesn't really believe it. He's never even seen Nezuko fight at this point, and frankly, she's his little sister. Are you really telling me that she's that strong? The maiden nods and tells him that she must go, but to keep upgrading himself and also learning more and more skills. Maybe he can learn some fighting styles from various demons. She doesn't know, but she'll learn as much as possible. She disappears into nothingness as Tanjiro stands up and sheathes his sword once again. Tanjiro walks toward the other hashira as the wind hashira basically scoffs at the idea of letting a demon in, but Tomioka and also, which Urokodaki already said before, that they would kill themselves if Nezuko were to hurt a human being. Tanjiro agrees to this fact, and then the real training begins. Tanjiro begins to train, learn more and more swordsmanship, but he is even outpacing most of the people there, and he might even be inching toward closer and closer to hashira level. With runes piling up and skills the same, Tanjiro is growing at an exponential rate, but soon, very soon, he'll be fighting somebody that will truly be his first test. That first test will be on Mount Natagumo, a fight with one of the 12 Kizuki. But he didn't know it would be that type of fight until he was sent there. He's actually told that he needs to go fight at this mountain, that many people were dying. But when Tanjiro arrives, he sees many demon slayers already strung up on strings, and actually they begin to fight him. He's able to basically counter this by throwing them up on the trees, as he sees this boar-masked kid and a kid with yellow hair run through as well. He's not sure who they are, but doesn't question much about it as he begins to slay monster after monster, finally coming across a woman who's basically the puppeteer. He goes to kill her, but as his sword is about to connect, he sees that she just wants to be killed. So he decides that he's going to basically bless her, make her feel nothing. So he decides to use his fifth form, blessed rain after the drought. He takes his sword and changes the grip. The sword decapitates the opponent in one flowing strike that causes practically no pain. He watches as the woman dies and she cries as if she has been released to another world that she's happy with now. He doesn't understand it, but he's happy that she was able to find peace in whatever this world or this corrupt world is. He begins to head through the area once again, finding more and more monsters, coming across the quote-unquote father monster. He slices at the monster, and he's actually able to break through the defenses momentarily. But when the boar kid, who's also a demon slayer, begins to fight with him, the tides change very quickly, and they're able to kill that monster relatively easily this time. The boar kid by the name of Inosuke begins to question how strong Tanjiro is and how did he get so strong, and that he wants to fight him to prove that he's the strongest. But Tanjiro says that there is no time for that. Tanjiro immediately disappears, teleporting to another side of grace he's already unlocked throughout that forest, or that mountain that he's seen earlier, heading toward an area that he believes he senses another demon. Sensing it and smelling one, he walks up to a brother and a sister talking, and one of the main demons, or the main demon, says that she needs to be useful to be part of his family. She runs off crying, saying that she will be useful as Rui turns. You know, you really shouldn't eavesdrop on family matters. You know, you really shouldn't treat your sister that way. Yes, and you're some human, huh? You're going to teach me your ways? No. I'm the one that protects the people, and you are intruding on my forest, intruding on the people that are my family. So you'll die. You'll all die. Rui begins to reveal his strings and begins to send it at Tanjiro, but just as it does, Nezuko jumps out of the box and kicks the strings. And the strings, these webbing, immediately just evaporates. And Tanjiro doesn't know what to say. How did she do that? How is that even possible? Tanjiro watches as Nezuko begins to basically destroy Rui. It seems like Nezuko has been growing at an insane rate on the parallel of Tanjiro. He doesn't understand how this is necessarily possible, but Nezuko being able to do this much is something great, something very beneficial for all of them. He watches as Nezuko basically beats on Rui, outpacing him by a lot, showing off various techniques that he's never seen. But the fighting style she's using is very similar to one that they saw with the swamp demon. And it seems like she's not teleporting, but she's using her speed to her advantage, but she's combining it with even some fighting styles that she's seen Tanjiro use. Now this is interesting. Tanjiro begins to mimic various fighting styles he's seen as well, even some of the Hashira's fighting styles. In doing this though, he actually finds something out about himself. Something that, well, he didn't know he would actually find. He finds that he has a black sword for a reason. His Nichirin blade changed to this color for a reason. He begins to focus more and more. And as he does, his sword erupts in flames and he begins to scream, "Himokimi Kagura!" Tanjiro charges forward as he slices the head off of Rui in one foul sweep. Not even being able to react to this, not even being able to use his blood demon art, Rui has been cut down and killed. Tanjiro stands over the body of Rui and sighs. "I'm sorry, but unfortunately, to get to the goal of protecting everybody, every single demon must die." Tanjiro sheathes his sword and begins searching around to make sure everyone's okay, seeing that Shinobu and Kanao and various other, helpers of the Demon Slayers begins to arrive and help everybody out to get them all out of there. Shinobu basically congratulates Tanjiro as he questions her. "You know, you don't have to keep this smile up. I don't understand it. Trust me, I know. Sometimes I fake a smile too." He walks away as she's completely shocked. How did he know that? Why would he say that now? But maybe he's right. After basically getting the blood from Rui and also some of the other demons, Tanjiro is done with some of the things that he wanted to do for Lady Tamayo. He heads back to the Hashira mansion and begins his training once again, and they ask him to actually train some of the recruits that were more or less out of commission or basically need that said training. He says that's fine and that he doesn't mind, as long as while they're recovering, he can train on his own, in which they say that's fine as well, and he can even handle some other missions if he so chooses. He nods and begins to train, but during this training session outside and more or less on his own, isolated, Shinobu does approach him, asking about this. "What does it feel like to be one of the Tarnished?" "It's intriguing to me. An outcast? Someone who's isolated, alone? Feels as if they're not where they're supposed to be?" Tanjiro nods. "I don't know. My family died. Sister's the only thing that's left. I try to keep a smile on my face, and it works sometimes. I be kind to other people, and I can tell that you try to do the same. It's intriguing. But trust me, I feel like you know this out of everybody. That smile will run out. But, just but, we can still keep on trucking and do whatever needs necessary to protect the ones that we do care about that are still alive." He begins to train with Shinobu and they speak over this idea for a bit. And she says that he actually has the power and also the requirements to becoming a hashira. But would he want to be one at this point? Tanjiro shakes his head and says let him kill one more demon or one more of the 12 Kizuki, and then he might take up that offer. he wants to come to a conclusion with this whole tarnished. He wants to make sure he knows exactly who he is and basically know exactly why he was gifted this maiden to guide him in his journeys. Gifted this power. He more or less unsheaths his sword once again, and his sword lights ablaze. The power I found seems to be becoming easier with me. I don't get it, but I'll use anything I can, any advantage I can get to kill these demons. They hide during the day, but I promise at night, I'll be the one to hunt them down. I'll be the one to kill them all, including Muzan Kibutsuchi. And that is a wrap for part 1 of What If Tanjiro Had a Maiden. I almost said Naofumi. I've been doing a lot of Naofumi stuff. This is just me 1 of 2. I mean, there's not much else to do after this. Obviously, you guys know what happens next. So this is 1 of 2. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. And yeah, that's about it. Later.